Alright guys, so I want to talk about, is AMC stock still going to go through this Moass potentially? Where is the bottom? All things are said and done. If the markets continue to fall, where will AMC go? How long will it take to squeeze? And where does my conviction really come from? That's what I want to talk about here in this video. So without any further ado, your time is valuable. Make sure to enjoy your weekend. This is an extended weekend, so you will have 3 days off. Enjoy it, make the most out of it, but be ready to go on Tuesday because it is going to be a wild one. Now, before we get into this video, the official sponsor of this video is going to be Moomoo. Moomoo wants you. As you guys can see on the screen, deposit $1, you will get 6 free stocks. This is the summer's hottest deal. You will not find another brokerage offering you guys 6 free stocks when you deposit $1 to fund a new account. Deposit $100, you will get 7 free stocks. Deposit $2,000 and you will get 10 free stocks. So take advantage of that while it does last. That is virtually free money, factoring in the cheapest stock you can get is around $4 to $5. So that's, you know, over a 20% return even on your well, even if it was $100 you spent, but $1, it don't get better than that. So nonetheless, check that out if you guys have not already. But let's dive into this situation, and let's just imagine here. Let's say the S&P does fall to its pre-COVID high. This is a period of time where the Fed stopped raising rates in late 2019 and essentially started to accommodate the markets, and the markets just did its thing. It just slowly melted up. We gained roughly, let's see, from the bottom October 2019 to the top, we gained about 19.3% here in the S&P 500 in a pretty short amount of time. In a year, that's a really good return, right? 19%, can't argue with that. COVID crash happened, boom, the rest is history. But if we come back to this peak before the COVID crash, obviously before the stimulus, before the inflation, before the Fed cut rates to 0, before a lot of things happened, right, over the last 2 years, like I said, the rest is history. If we continue to come down to that level, that's going to be roughly another 9.3% drop. So we're closer to a bottom than not, and I do think over the long term this COVID peak is going to be the decade long bottom. Essentially, we can hang out around these levels for a while, but I think we will flush to that, and I think it's possible we go under that a little bit, but that is going to be like the low for the next 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, if not indefinitely. But what's going to happen to AMC stock if we do go to those levels? Well, I think considering where we're at, it would only be a 9% drop from here. I think you're going to chill out around $10 per share. I really don't see a significant decline under $10 per share because of where AMC is and the fact that the business is actually improving. Over the last 2 years, AMC has not been in such a great place, but they're now in a place where their business is actually expanding and people are going out to see movies. The movies that have been in production over the last 2 years are starting to come out, and overall things are on the up and up for the underlying business of AMC, which is a lot different than most other businesses out there. At the same time, over the last 2 years, AMC has really set itself up with different business segments to kind of diversify their income streams, right? They're going to have their credit cards, their popcorn business. By the end of 2022, the beginning half of 2023, you know, AMC is going to be in a much different place even than it is right now. And markets are forward looking. So I think that is going to help justify at least a $10 share price on the stock if the worst case scenario comes true. Now, I do think there will be a bounce here over the next couple of weeks, but is that going to lead to the Moass? I don't necessarily think so, just with the overall markets going up, but I do think when a catalyst comes for AMC, it's going to be very explosive. And we've talked about this for a long time now. I talked about this even in the last video, but I've talked about this for over the last 6 to 12 months now here on this channel, that we needed to see the markets coming down. We needed to see hedge funds really getting squeezed for capital, and then ultimately a catalyst for AMC to give us that Moass. Yes, the executive order is helping things. Yes, all of the rule changes from the NSCC, the DTCC have certainly helped over the last year, but they've brought us to this place where we currently sit. Intraday margin calls with those NSCC, what is it, 005 proposed rule change that was implemented. Those are intraday margin calls. That is to help protect, obviously, big money from big losses from other big hedge funds. That is another domino that has fallen over the last year. The executive order, I think that was a really big deal, and I think given where the markets are at, you didn't necessarily see that reflected in the price action of how big of a deal that actually was, because the markets have essentially been falling through the floor. Now, this time around, comparatively to January and June, you're not going to see hedge funds stepping in to bail out other hedge funds. The bond yields are through the roof, over 3%, even coming down over the last 2 trading days quite substantially, down from almost 3.5%, now down to 3.23%, but still very, very high. So the cost of acquiring capital is very expensive, especially if you're a hedge fund that is very risky. I mean, right now, like, you don't want to be a hedge fund, right? You're losing money. Nobody wants to lend to you because who knows what's going to happen in equity markets. Bitcoin just fell under 18,300 as the sell-off accelerates. CNBC says here's what happened. So on top of that, all asset classes, crypto, bonds, stocks, all of it's through the toilets, and the margin debt is not. The margin debt for May came out at 750 to almost $53 billion. The markets are falling much faster than the overall margin debt. So what does that mean? Well, just logically speaking here, you're seeing higher levels of margin debt on a relative percentage basis of portfolios. If you had a $2 billion portfolio, $1 billion of margin debt, 50% margin debt, portfolio value drops 50%. You're a 1-to-1 ratio, $1 billion of margin debt, $1 billion in your equity portfolio. Boom. You are essentially at a margin call. And you could think about that the same thing here on the market. So if total market values have went down, call it 31%, 31.5% in the NASDAQ, but margin debt has only came down like 15%, well, that's a considerable difference, and you're running the risk of seeing more margin calls a lot quicker. And I think all of this will culminate into more lows in the markets, yes, more potential short-term pain for AMC stock, but that's when you're going to see the major upside. It's when hedge funds no longer have a choice to cover on their short positions or not. That's the difference. In June and in January, hedge funds could either be bailed out or just put up more money for collateral to ride out the storm and wait to cover at a cheaper price, or potentially just never cover. Just wait forever to cover. I mean, essentially, some shorts that were in AMC short positions in January and in June probably have not covered yet. There's a lot of those guys out there. But when you're strapped for cash, you're in a really bad situation as a hedge fund, and you have a short position like AMC that you were winning on, and it starts to go against you, you're going to get margin called very, very quickly. And I think that's ultimately what is going to propel AMC stock to these massive levels. Now, as far as has my price targets changed? No, I still think 5 to 10,000 is very possible. I think 50,000, 100,000, that's just being greedy at that point. You could do what you guys want, but I think a lot of people would sell out, in between 5 and 10,000, potentially even less than that, because like I've always said, I've never been conclusive of, this is the price AMC stock can actually go to. But there's one question you need to ask yourself if you are trying to figure out how high can AMC go. Forget the math. It doesn't even matter. Think about what is the average price somebody would sell out at. You could do a poll. You could do a survey. I actually might do it here on the channel. So by the time you guys watch this video, go look at the main channel. Go comment on the poll. I want a realistic price range of where you guys would sell out. Is it 100? Is it 500? Is it 2,000, 5,000, 10,000, 100,000, a million? That average is where AMC stock is likely to go to, because after all, if we control the float, we are not selling. shorts have to cover, there is a lack of shares outstanding. And like by forced to cover, I mean like they have to cover and they have to start eating up the order book. Well, that's where you could see AMC stock reach incredible levels. And it's really until people start to sell in massive numbers and where a lot of shares become available is where AMC would ultimately peak out at. As far as when I think this was actually going to happen, I do think we are on the cusp, and I do think in the next couple of months we will be rewarded very, very nicely for having patience and essentially sticking it through with this trade. I'm not a fortune teller. I don't know what day it's going to happen. If I did, I would let all of you guys know. Obviously, if you're in the trading group down below in the description, if new information comes out, new details in a day-to-day basis, something that is not talked about here on this channel, or if you just want access to all of my trades in real time, the hedges that we've been making, you want access to all of that information, link down below in the pinned comments. I will certainly get you guys that information, but until then, I mean, I have no choice to be bullish. No choice to be bullish. If you look at the Ortex data, you can see almost 23% short interest, 15% cost bar minimum, 19% cost bar max, 21% 19% cost bar average, 21% cost bar max. These are numbers we have not seen in a relatively long amount of time, right? They fluctuate a lot, but cost bar minimums at 15%, you haven't seen that in a while. That is kind of telling you that expect to see a decent sized move in the near term future. And that's exactly what I expect. So I have no choice to be bullish here. I have no choice but to think the longer this takes, potentially the higher AMC stock could go, because that's more and more shorts that will be forced to cover. The longer these guys have to pay in between 15 and 20% to stay in their short positions, on top of everything else we have talked about, is a bullish thing. So forget what people are talking about out there. I know there's going to be people that say, hey, you're bullshit, nothing's going to happen with AMC stock. Let them say that. Let them say that. That's fine. AMC has power in numbers. AMC has power in its eventual manipulation turned into sweet, sweet tendies for us, and its popularity. Those are factors that no one can forget about, that everyone knows about AMC. Everyone knows about the Moass. It's talked about on financial media all the time. AMC was searched more than the word stimulus check in 2022. I think that speaks, or 2021. I think that speaks volumes. And I think ultimately all of these things will come to fruition exactly how we have talked about them here on this channel, but it could take a decent amount of time. But obviously, it goes without saying, I'm not a financial advisor. I don't know. I have my personal money on the line. If I lose my money based off of statements that are made here in this video, which none of it is a conclusion, a fact, not even though damn Ortex data is a 100% fact. So keep that margin of error in here, and keep in mind, I'm not a financial advisor. You are responsible for your own decisions, but I am very confident in what I am saying, and that's why I have my money on the line. Yes, I am down a lot, just like I'm sure a lot of you guys are, but I think we will be rewarded very nicely in due time. Nonetheless, that is going to be all for this video. Thank you guys for watching. Enjoy the rest of your weekends. Check out Moomoo, the sponsor of this video, down below in the description of this video. That promotion does end by the end of June, so take advantage of that here over the next couple of days while that does last. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next one.